project we are going to discuss today is the test case for if someone has a valid email address and they forget the password. Now the purpose of this system to check and make sure that the system is robust enough and reliable enough that it will function as per the requirements in case someone forgets the password. So I have prepared this document, and as you can see in the third row that the precondition is the user or whoever is using the email account has a valid username to begin with, and the example I have took into consideration is Yahoo website. The way this document is organized is I'm looking at column B here, and I have assigned a test case ID for each step that the user is going to perform, and the second column is the description or the user that the actions that user is going to take. And the third column is the test data, whatever test data that I am going to take into consideration. The fourth column is the expected result, fifth one is actual results, and then we could perform series of cycles just to make sure we are taking all the data into consideration and the system is behaving as per our expectations. Now the very first test case ID is into the web browser we'll enter mail.yahoo.com, and there is no requirement of the test data. When we enter that into a web browser, our expected result is going to be the web browser should open the Yahoo Mail's login web page, and I did that on my system. The actual result was the browser opened the Yahoo login web page. So the result I have put it as pass. Next one is enter your username into the Yahoo user ID field. So the test data is enter your username, and the password field, in the password field also try entering your username. Even though you have forgot your password, still you are entering your username into the user ID field, and you are entering your username into the password field as well, and click sign in button. Now as you see here, the expected result is the web browser or the system should throw an error message, because what you are doing it, you are entering your username and password into this twice, and it is not actually a valid data. So the system actual result was the system displayed an error message saying that your invalid ID or password has been entered. So the result is pass. Now the third case, what I did is I entered my username into the Yahoo user ID field and left the password field empty and just clicked on sign in field. So my expected result was the system should display an error message saying that please enter your password. The actual result I got was the browser displayed an error message in red saying that please enter your password. So my expected result and actual result match, that's why it is a pass. Sushmita, do you want me to go over all the test cases that I performed?
Yes, how many of the test cases you have?
I got around 28.
Okay, just can you just identify the unique ones? Like I don't want the same test cases repeated, just the unique ones.
All right. So the first few test cases, I just tried different combinations and tried to sign in into the system. Then what I did is I clicked on, there is a link at the bottom of the page saying that I cannot access my account. That is this test case number 6. Now in this test case, when I tapped onto I can't access my account, the browser took me to a next window and displayed different options identifying the issues I may be having. And this test case, the actual result, that is what happened. The next one is Yahoo wants to make sure I have a valid Yahoo ID. So I entered my valid Yahoo ID and tapped on next. The browser opened next to open a new window asking me 3 questions in order to validate my identity: my birth date, country of residence, and postal code. I did series of testing on this page, leaving all these like as you can see in the test data column, I did not enter any data and just clicked on next, and the browser showed me an error message. Now in the next test case, what I did was I entered incorrect birthday and left the country of residence and postal code empty. And the browser displayed an error message. I performed series of test cases similarly, entering incorrect country of residence, leaving other 2 fields blank, entering the postal code and leaving other 2 fields blank. All the time I got an error message. And the last test kit, I entered all the valid data. So in that case, what happened was the browser displayed a message saying that a temporary password has been sent to my cell phone number or another email address that I gave when I created the Yahoo account. So I visually checked my phone to make sure that I have received a temporary password from Yahoo team. And I waited for some time, and if I did not receive a temporary password, then the test case was a fail. So if I didn't receive an email or a temporary password, I just called the customer care service and worked with them. That's what this FP16 is all about. Next, once I received a temporary password, these are some of the steps that I followed.
Okay, can you go back to FP16?
Here.
In FP16, why you don't have the expected and the actual result?
This is just an step or user action that they need to perform. Actually, they don't consider what will happen once the user calls to the customer service.
So you are saying if you did not receive a temporary password, contact customer service on XYZ to get assistance with resetting your password, right? Now, considering that any test case, the rule is it should not be open-ended.
Okay.
So considering that, you need to make sure that, okay, there could be, it can go 2 ways. That if the temporary password is not received, that the user may contact, that is the expected result, right? That user may contact the customer service or may contact the customer service via email, something like that. When you drop out an email to the customer support, some email address. So it can go 2 routes. And that is your expected result. Now in the actual result, you may put a notation stating that this cannot be validated in the test environment.
Okay.
But your expected result, you know what to expect.
Right.
Right? So then just mark it accordingly, and then in the cycle you can just mark it as a not applicable because that cannot be validated in the real time.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, I should have taken that into consideration as well.
That's okay. Move on. But well prepared, well done. I must say that very good job. First time writing this test cases as a first time user, very good work. Go on.
Okay, thank you. The test case ID FP17, once I received the temporary password, I went to the mail.yahoo.com and entered the username and the temporary password. So my expected result is once I enter that and click on sign in button, I should be able to log in to my account and visually see the email. So far everything is working fine. And the second one is, even after receiving the temporary password, I enter the user ID, temporary password, click on the sign in button, but I'm still do not log into my account. So this uh, test result is a fail. So in that scenario, I can contact the customer service, which is not actually applicable in this scenario, as we discussed earlier. Moving on to FP20. Once I'm into my email account, I'll go to the settings and click on reset password. And a new web page will be displayed inside my email account, asking to enter my temporary password and whatever new password I'm going to set it to. The actual result is a new web page open inside my email account, and there I enter the temporary password and new password, asking me to enter the temporary password and new password. So the cycle 1 is a pass. Now moving on, once I enter my temporary password, new password, and click on the reset password button, a web page will open asking that, oh sorry, this FP21 is actually similar to FP20, but I am not getting any web page inside my email account asking for any password, uh, to enter any password, new or temporary either. So this test case is a fail. If I get a web page inside my email account to ask to enter the password, then I do that and click on the reset button. The system will display a message saying that my password has been reset. The actual result was my password was reset, so it is a pass. But even after entering the passwords and clicking on reset button, if automatically nothing happens and get kicked out of the system, that means it's a fail, because the expected result and actual result do not match. Just a step or user action that needs to be performed, that once you exiting out of the system, to make sure in the following steps it is working fine. Yahoo.com and try to log in using my valid user ID and the temporary password that I had received earlier. In that scenario, as the password has been already changed, so the temporary password should not work. So the browser will display an error message that either invalid ID or password. And the actual result was the browser displayed an error message. So this step is a pass. Now what I am doing is I am entering my user ID and the new password that I reset. System should be able to log me inside this, my email account. So the expected result and actual result match. So this is a pass. Now one more test test case, what I'm doing is after resetting the password, I am just entering wrong user ID, anything that I can think of, and the new password. In that case, the system should not be able to log me in because the user ID in this case is wrong. So here the expected result and actual result match. So this is a pass. But if I enter any invalid username and the new password that I reset, if the system logs me in with that information, that means it is a fail. So these are all the test cases that I took under consideration to make sure that if someone forgets the password, the system is reliable enough to assist the user resetting it, and it doesn't have any loopholes, and it meets the business requirement. Thank you all. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you for the nice comments all. That makes me feel really good and confident.
Okay, so thank you, Shri. It was well prepared and well done. That's really, you came out like a real outstanding student, I must say that, because it didn't sound like that someone is just fresh and able to deliver such a good test case. So that really is remarkable. Now, any of you have any question or comments for Shri? Then I would ask you to just raise your voice, ask the question. Not only question, if you have any comments, any suggestion, any recommendation for the test case, you should be commenting on it. Now, as you see here, few things which needs to be captured as part of the test cases is you need to find out what are the positive test cases, what are the negative test cases. And on top of that, you need to have a different permutation combination in terms of that each scenario can be validated in different way. So all those statistical factors are considered while writing these test cases. So this is not something just a quick work. This is something well understood functionality, that means that quality assurance analysts have given good amount of time reading through the business requirement document, reading through the technical requirement document, and then coming up with the actual test cases to understand the metrics. Now there are a few things which you need to notice, like he have mentioned as cycle 1, cycle 2, 3, all these things means this matrix contains all the pieces together, that there could, let's say the project have 500 test cases. All the 500 test cases you are not going to execute in 4 cycles because of X number of factors. First of all, you are not going to put together all the 500 test cases and the test data set up at once. So what you can do, you can divide it. that 500 test cases, you are going to do it into 5 cycles, 100 test cases, depending upon the number of resources working on the project. So when you have those type of breakdowns in the cycle, or you can say in the wave, then you know if something is getting affected over here, you can move that to cycle 2 testing if some defect is identified, as long as that defect doesn't have any negative impact on any other test cases. Then you can mark the rest of the test cases as pass, and the ones which have some defect, which cannot be completed as part of this cycle, what you can do is you can just move it to the next cycle. So that will go to your cycle 2. Now bear in mind, always it doesn't happen that you are going to execute the test cases in multiple cycles. So in that case, what can happen? There is nothing called cycle. It's just a pass or fail result. So you just need to validate the expected result against the actual result and mark it as a pass and fail. Now, most of the time what happens, whenever you are creating the metrics, you only thing you need to consider is that each functionality is getting validated in number of times, depending upon the size of the functionality and the priority and the criticality of the functionality. So if the functionality is very critical, you need to make sure that multiple scenarios are tested. So whatever scenarios you can identify, you are able to capture that. Now when we are doing the review, at this point of time, we didn't had any recommendations or any additional comments or anything like that. But in real time, if someone, it can go into 2 different routes. First route, the QA is really well versed with the application, and he have really spent good time to create the test cases. If that is the case, you can expect less questions being asked by the audience, which are the stakeholders, the team lead, subject matter expert, IT, developer, anyone can have less questions. On the other hand, if the application is very vast application, the requirement is very critical, even though the QA have done its best, but still there are lot of recommendations, lot of changes, lot of amendments which are coming to the test case metrics. It doesn't mean that the QA have done a bad job. It means that there are lot of information which needs to be added as part of it. So when you are updating it, make sure you keep capturing all the information, whatever is discussed during the meeting, and as per that discussion, you update that document. Sometimes what will happen that there are 2 or 3 iterations of meeting which is required before the final test document can be delivered. In that case, be prepared for that. Now again, that QA world works in 2 different ways. Or you can say that if business analyst is writing the user acceptance test cases, it can also go on the same route. If the quality assurance, which is the QA deliverable, which is the system integration testing test scenarios, delivered by QA, is going to be used as for the UAT as well, then you can expect lot more test scenario and the test cases as part of the QA test cases, because now the UAT and the QA is going to be together because you are using the same test cases. But if you are going to have a separate set of test cases for UAT and separate test cases for QA, then you can see some combination which are there in QA but not in UAT, and some combinations are there in UAT but not in QA. So both the possibility is there. So this is all about the test cases, and the good job to Shri.